Kings of the North. Who picked the Canadiens to come out of this division? How many? Liar, liar, liar. You're all liars. Montreal fans, you have to admit, you could have been hopeful, but you probably had a lot of doubts going into the first round against Toronto. And even going into this one against the Jets, who've been rested for a while after they just swept Edmonton, right? I mean, the Canadiens scored first in every game. They never trailed. Had 10 different players scored in this series for them. The penalty kill was 8 for 8 with 3 shorthanded goals. Just incredible, you know? And they've embraced this underdog persona. There was an article by The Score today, you know, Toffoli, Canadians ignoring the doubters. Feels like nobody believes in us. It's us against the world. We've all heard it before. They're using it. Don't they remind you just a little bit of the Dallas Stars of last year, who weren't supposed to go this far, who weren't supposed to get past a lot of the teams that they beat? And the way they're doing it, I don't know, good goaltending, good defense, choking up the neutral zone, out-hitting, out-fighting your opponent. I mean, the Canadiens, they do all that. They choke up the ice. There's much more urgency and immediacy to their game when it comes to back-checking, forechecking, 50-50 battles for the puck, getting in front of the net to screen the goalie, clearing guys in front of their own net, all of the above. And Toronto and Winnipeg have some eerie similarities as well from, you know, their first two, their exits in the playoffs. And it's the ghastly turnovers in the neutral zone. More for Winnipeg, but those passes to nothing by the defensemen, you know, the outlet passes were just awful. They didn't play like a 5-man unit, which is how Montreal is doing it. They dare you to dump in the puck. And Winnipeg should have known this going in. The way Montreal was playing their top 4 defensemen, the amount of minutes they needed to beat on them from the get-go. And they didn't do enough of that, obviously. Montreal's turntable of that bottom pair, who, smart move by Ducharme, not trusting, you know, that bottom unit, the bottom D to play together. They split them up with one of the top 4 on every shift, or most of the shifts, in order to relegate the vulnerability for whoever they happen to bring into the lineup. Romanov made it into Game 7 finally. But ever since they brought Caulfield in, was it Game 3 or Game 4, this team started to win. That's 7 straight games now. That's the longest for Montreal since 1993. And some crazy facts here. The Jets are the 11th team to sweep a series and then get swept in the next one. And I don't want to point it all on goaltending, but Carey Price was definitely very good. Montreal outscored Winnipeg 14-6 in this series. Hellbuck was still amazing. Hellbuck was still really good. I mean, Montreal outshot the Jets 42-16. Hellbuck gave them a chance. But you look back at that Toronto series, Campbell actually had better numbers than Price. Yeah, there's some other eerie similarities with Winnipeg and Toronto in terms of major players that were missing through the series because of suspension or injury or whatnot, right? The Jets, you can look at Scheifele with that really dumb move in Game 1, which got him suspended. The injury to DeMello, for instance. Toronto, you look at Tavares, Muzzin. You know, that definitely didn't help. but it's next man up. And the way the whole team was playing, I mean, Scheifele definitely makes this a difference. But I don't know if Winnipeg wins this series, even with him in the lineup. Maybe it goes 6 or 7 games. Maybe. With Toronto, with Tavares in the lineup, that really changes the dynamic too. I'm not so sure about that one, but I'm not going to go down the woulda, coulda, shoulda Yellow Brick Road, right? And now it's either Colorado or Vegas for the Canadiens. And they're still the underdog. Let's get that straight. No one's picking them to win over one of those two teams. Even Montreal fans, you got to admit. And, hey, a question for you. Who would you rather play? Vegas or Colorado? I got a feeling maybe it's Vegas. That would be kind of cool to see, too. You know, Fleury versus Price. Another eerie similarity, some of the disappointing play from some major players. Like, for Winnipeg, Dubois, right? I mean, this whole season really has been a write-off for him. And then there's, to a certain extent, Ehlers. He made a couple of mistakes each game. One big one that led to a goal, obviously, in Game 7. And he just looked really disengaged, especially in the defensive zone. He looked on fire when he got, into the Montreal's part of the ice. But in his own zone, I saw him in Game 7. The puck popped out from a scrum. He had a hold of it. Everyone turned and looked at him, and he just put it back into the scrum. It's like he didn't want it. And he was very laissez-faire about it. Cavalier. And again, that comes to the whole, urgency of it all. Every player in Montreal is playing with that tenacity, which I just don't see so far from the first two teams that they've gone up against. We'll see if I think they're going to be facing very different teams when it comes to Colorado and in Vegas. And I hope Montreal at least gives them a run for their money, really, because let's face it, everyone's going to say if Montreal gets swept in round 3, everyone's going to point and say, "See, told you so. The North sucked." And they're kind of right, aren't they? I mean, I didn't think Calgary was going to be that bad. I thought they were going to be a much improved team. I didn't think Montreal was going to stumble so hard during the regular season. The Jets was a bit of a question mark, but I definitely expected them to make the playoffs. Vancouver, I didn't expect them to be that bad, but everyone, COVID problems and such aside, I would love to hear from you down in the comment section below what you thought of this series and how far you think Montreal is going to go next. Who would you rather them face, Vegas or Colorado? Don't forget you can find me on social media. You'll find links in my description box to Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, which will alert you when my next video comes out. And don't forget to be kind to each other in this crazy world we're living in right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.